Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to it's not the One Bitcoin Show, it's the Beyond Bitcoin Show. Today is April the 13th, 2019, and Shabbat is over. But it was a good Shabbat, I hope, for all of you. Strong hand, long-term thinking, unconfiscatable, deferral of gratification, conviction, value your wealth in Bitcoin, avoid mediocrity, personal responsibility is a new counterculture. I made sure I said a lot of those things as we're going to talk about deferral of gratification today. We're going to talk about conviction because I've got the one, the only. Oh yeah, he's really a rabbi. It is the Bitcoin Rabbi. He is in the house. Welcome, Bitcoin Rabbi.
Hey, thanks for having me. This has been a long time coming. You were, I think, probably the first person to follow me on Twitter. Actually, it was like we've been chatting for a long time, and I'm so glad I finally got on with you.
It's a weird story. I believe you followed me, and I immediately noticed like, some guy called the Bitcoin Rabbi just followed me. So I immediately contacted you. And then your account went down for a while for some odd reason. I was like, well, maybe it was a scam or something. But no, guys, this is real. He is really a rabbi. You could see it. Now, I mean, some people, I don't know. There's a lot of people on YouTube that watch this all around the world. They're not familiar with rabbis. They're not familiar with Jewish people. Some people, they picture a Jewish man. They picture a guy like you, a religious-looking man. Some picture Rachel Maddow. Some picture me. Who knows what they picture when they think of a Jewish man? But you're going to tell us about the religious side of things. And I want to know your origin story. Before we get into Bitcoin, you were once a secular young teenager.
Yeah, I mean, I was not raised in a religious family really at all. I mean, maybe a lot of people can appreciate just like a normal American family. Maybe we had a Jewish background, whether people are Jewish or not. They kind of know the idea of like we are a religion, but it's not a big part of our life. Like I went to a synagogue, we had a Passover Seder, we did Yom Kippur and like a little bit of Hebrew school, but it was not like a huge part of our life. And like it was something that, in pop culture, like is really, you have a little bit of religion in the background, but it's not like something that's taught or emphasized or made to be proud of. So it was never, I didn't really have that growing up. And then when I was a teenager, me and my older brother started, looking into it a bit more. And there are these Jewish rabbis that kind of are all over the world and in the US that's called Chabad. And they basically go to like little towns where there are small Jewish communities and open up shop. And they are like, listen, if you want to come and learn about Torah, you want to learn about holidays, we're here. We're open for you. And so I started going like as a teenager and just really more than the what I actually learned and like the philosophy and stuff of it, I really loved what I saw just of like a family, a community, meaning, purpose. And so people find that in different religions and people find that in different ways, but like that really felt fulfilling and felt meaningful. So after I was very touched and very moved by that. And then when I graduated high school, I went to yeshiva. I studied in Israel for 4 years. I got my rabbinical degree there. I'm not what you would call like a pulpit rabbi. I'm not a leader of a community, but I'm a teacher at a Jewish day school. And I study Torah and, do all of the things of that an Orthodox rabbi, an Orthodox Jewish person would do.
Now you bring up meaning and purpose. We talk about this on the Beyond Bitcoin show a lot. So that's how he found his meaning and purpose. Who knows how you will find your meaning and purpose, but it's always good to have a meaning and purpose or else you're just floating there and you get caught up in the wild ways of the world. So you also mentioned family and Michael Goldstein, who, I mean, him also, he's a big Bitcoin guy. He has a tweet out there that is hilarious. And it's about you. It's about your book. When Moses was in Fiat's land, let my money go. Thanks, Bitcoin Rabbi. I can't wait to spread the good word to every family I can. So he's talking about the book right here.
Yeah, and I sent him a bunch of copies to spread out in Austin, Texas.
Now, this is a very interesting. This is about Bitcoin. It's for kids, but it can help grown-ups too. And it's very family-oriented, very clean and nice. And my mom read it. She enjoyed it, and she understood it and everything.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad, he has a quote. I put him a quote on the back. It says, "Grandpa, I learned more from reading this book in one sitting than from you trying to explain Bitcoin to me for 2 years." So like, it's definitely not just for kids. I had some Shabbos guests over for lunch today, and the book went through all 3 of them. And like, it is really, if you got somebody that doesn't understand, just like doesn't get it. One of my guests asked me, he said, "I've never even seen a Bitcoin. You know, what does it look like?" And just didn't. This is a great starting point to them, because like, there's so many different angles, the technology and the blockchain and the whole thing, and you can get all mixed up with all the different coins and the whole. And I wanted to write this book just to kind of get straight to the point. So that's what it is.
Well, thank you for writing this book, and thank you for putting a wholesome spin on Bitcoin. Now, because recently in Bitcoin and crypto, whatever you want to say, there's been some unwholesome activity, to say the least. And a lot of people associate just the worst of the world with Bitcoin and crypto. And this is the best of the world. So I'm glad you've got Michael Goldstein tweeting about family. This is family. And so it can be a very wholesome thing also, Bitcoin. I just want to point
what, that reminds me, I wanted to talk about, I love all your slogans. I really love your positive attitude and the positivity in Bitcoin. Most people I've met and talked to are really positive and good, decent people. There's a Yiddish phrase called "Tracht gut wird sein gut," to think good and it will be good. So like, having a positive view and applying that to Bitcoin, I think, is important. But also, one of your slogans, I do want to give a slight different twist on. You say value your wealth in Bitcoin, which I know what you mean, and I hear that like, you know, you don't want to be in fiat and you don't want to be in altcoins. You want to know that your money is worth something, and you have Bitcoin. But there's my Rebbe, you know, my Grand Rebbe, he has a phrase or a famous saying, and it says, you know, not. Let me just close the window. I've got a thing going on here. 1 second.
Pound that like button. Pound that like button for the sign from above there when you were talking about the Rebbe. That was the Continue.
So he says Jewish wealth. He says it about Jewish, but it really applies to anyone. Jewish wealth is not houses and gold. The everlasting Jewish wealth is being a Jew that keeps Torah and mitzvahs and bringing into the world children and grandchildren who keep Torah and mitzvahs. So just my slight take on it, really, besides valuing your wealth in Bitcoin, value your wealth in family. I mean, that's what the Bitcoin's there for. I mean, that's what I have it. People ask me, when are you gonna sell your Bitcoin? I'm like, it's going into my will to my children. What do you think? You know, that's what it's for.
You're absolutely. People can't think that long term. There's an Italian guy in the Philadelphia area, Jim, who says the exact same thing that you said. It's for his kids. He's got a paralyzed hand now. He's not going to use it. It's for his kids. And that, you know, to each his own. Anyone can choose it. But a lot of people in this world, this very impulsive world, they need to spend it the next day. You're talking about it's for the next generation. And Jim, who is an Italian guy, it could be anyone, realize that. So yeah, it's not, you said it yourself. It's not just Jewish. It's for everyone. Now, I want to talk about your, I guess, the discipline of being a religious man. You pray 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And does that discipline carry over into Bitcoin? Do you think I mean, that's my whole opinion. I think being a disciplined individual keeps me from, you know, panicking from the ups and the downs of Bitcoin. I mean, if you get into the price, you're going to do something crazy. But if you're a disciplined person, you put it off, you know, you're calm. So what do you think about that?
You know, that's a really interesting take. I never really thought of comparing the lifestyle. I mean, yeah, to be a religious person, and like I said, I'm sure for all religions, to be a religiously dedicated person requires discipline. I mean, to be an Orthodox Jew, you eat kosher, which limits the places that you can eat. You know, keeping the holidays. Like, I just turned off my online store for Shabbos. So people, like, orders weren't coming in, sales weren't going in, because that's my day of rest. That's, you know, we don't do business then. like family life. We've got our restrictions on our, marriage and our family and that kind of things. So I guess I don't know how to compare it because this is the way I do live. But I do think about, planning for the long term, planning reasonably. When I buy Bitcoin, or when I bought Bitcoin, I've got to talk it through with my wife and with our family and see, how things financially work. And so you do have to be, it's not just being religious, but like, being a family man also. You've got to like really make sure you're not doing crazy stuff and be a responsible person. So it can be applied to more than just religious people, but it definitely does fit in.
Now, since this is the Beyond Bitcoin show, we will be talking to the Bitcoin Rabbi about his views on modern day marriage soon. Stay tuned for that. But I want to go back to, well, first of all, I want to say, Zach, thank you, Zach Bandera, for $2 in the super chat. Crypto Shrugged author, who also has a Bitcoin book, a little different than this book. He sent $1, but that is awesome to see a fellow crypto author there. Now, okay, so we know you became a religious man, you became married, you have a family, you're a rabbi, you teach. When did Bitcoin enter the picture? And how did you become the Bitcoin Rabbi? Because I thought, now, at last, we have a Bitcoin Rabbi. We needed one for a while, and you really... You jumped on it. Someone should have jumped on it a long time ago. But so when did you get into this?
Yeah, I'm definitely not the only rabbi that's into Bitcoin. Actually, I think your rabbi is accepting a little bit of Bitcoin now. He's not quite the Bitcoin rabbi, but there is actually a whole group of us. We have a chat group of like Jewish and Israeli guys. There's definitely plenty of people in. But it really, I was very late to the party, I guess you could say. In 2017, my older brother, who I'm very good friends with, he lives in Israel. He also like studied in yeshiva, and we're very close. He told me that he just started. He bought some Bitcoin, and like the price was shooting up, and I was like, well, what's that? What's this big? The only thing I ever heard of Bitcoin was that the price crashes, and I never really paid attention or heard that much of it. But I did come from like a libertarian kind of perspective of economics and financial. I read Milton Friedman. I liked Thomas Sowell. So like I did have that background of like, gold and hard money and all of that. And then once I kind of once the whole thing of Bitcoin clicked to me, it took about a half a day. I was just like, whoa, this changes everything. So that was 2017. And for a year, I was just like eating up everything that I could get. I found your show. I listened to Tone Vase. I listened to the Noted podcast. I just tried to learn everything that I could about it. And I just loved it. And I wanted to, in mid 2018, I wanted to like be more involved. I wanted to be part of the community. And I was like, you know what? I could talk about Bitcoin. Really, I think the idea that the Bitcoin and the blockchain and Judaism, that connection was the first thing. That like Judaism is a chain of history and connection, and that it's similar to the blockchain. I was like, all right, I got it. I'm the Bitcoin Rabbi, and I talk about Bitcoin and Judaism. And I just like made my Twitter out of nowhere. I was like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I went through and just started it, and just started writing ideas and posting stuff out. And people have been very nice and like welcoming, and mostly not, Jewish Bitcoiners, not Jewish Bitcoiners. And I try to make everything that I talk about not just Jewish specific. Like I wanted to be talk about and relate to everybody. So I've had a great time. I actually just met some Bitcoiners. I went to Pierre Rochard's NYC Bitcoiners meetup and like met people. And so it's been a lot of fun of, being an active member in the community for the past like 6-9 months.
Now, so you became the Bitcoin Rabbi. You became legendary immediately, in my head at least. But you were in motion immediately because you just came out with a book like that. I mean, how did
So that book was, so I'll tell you how that book came out. So I've had a really, the short answer of it is I love Saifedean Ammous's The Bitcoin Standard. I read through it probably three or so times. I just have it like on my desk, kind of flip through it occasionally. And as part of, I made a presentation called Bitcoin and Judaism that I give to like college students. I've given it a few times. We'll see. As the market picks back up, I'll probably end up doing the presentation more. But in it, I go through the history of money. So like I have this whole idea in mind, that's the main thing that the Bitcoin Standard book is really about. It talks about how we went from gold, how we got to fiat, where we are, and why Bitcoin solves these things. So I had all these ideas in my head, and I tweeted out to Saifedean, and I said, has anyone made like a kid's book version of this? He said, no, but it sounds like a great idea. And I brainstormed, like I lied in bed at night, planned out the whole book in my head, woke up the next morning, got myself all ready, sat in front of the computer, banged the whole book onto the keyboard within like 3 hours. I just like wrote the whole thing, just like flowed out. And I had a lot of help. My wife is a graphic designer, so she edited it and she put it together. And then we hired a beautiful illustrator, an illustrator to make beautiful drawings for it. And we got the book out from concept to print in 3 weeks. Like it just like full time working, because I wanted it out before Passover, because I knew I was going to be so busy. The Passover starts this Friday night, and I was like, I gotta get this thing out. So we just like worked, and it happened.
Now that's in motion, people. When I pound that like button he took advantage of the situation. There wasn't a kid's book based on Saifedean's book yet, so he did it, and that's the opportunity in this space. There's so many things that have yet to be done. There wasn't a Bitcoin Rabbi. He became the Bitcoin Rabbi. There wasn't a kid's book. Now there's a kid's book. So, anyone can come up with an idea and just jump on it like that, and it becomes a big thing. You'll end up on my show. Do something like that, people. Tell me about it. You'll come on the show. Okay, so let's, you brought up Passover, and you told me beforehand there's the Bitcoin Haggadah. Well, here's a Haggadah. This is
a very beautiful Haggadah.
What we read is a Baltimore style.
The Haggadah tells the story of the Exodus. The majority of it is like lines and quotes from the book of Exodus. It tells through the story of when the Jewish people left Egypt, the 10 plagues, and all of that. So on Passover night, we eat matzah and read this book. So that's it. So you probably, every Jewish kid knows like all the lines. I just wrote some of my own. Will you bear with me? I'm just going to read some of my lines that I wrote for the Bitcoin Haggadah. All right.
Oh my God, it's going to be a Bitcoin Haggadah now. Let's hear this.
Listen to this. This is the fiat of our affliction that our forefathers used in the 20th century. Whoever wants personal responsibility, let them come by Bitcoin. Whoever has strong hands, hold on for the long term. This year, we were in a bear market. Next year will be a bull market. This year, we're under 10K. Next year, to the moon. What makes this different? What makes this night different than all other nights? On all other nights, people FOMO in high and panic sell low. On this night, we buy the dip and hold. On all other nights, folks look at altcoins and Bitcoin. On this night, we only care about Bitcoin. On all other nights, we're checking if the price is rising or flat. On this night, we know the price is flat because 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. Pound that like button. On all other nights, we sit and wait for bank transfers to process. On this night, we lean in, buckle up, and get ready to ride to the 2020 halving and beyond. Let's see what else I got. I've got some more. There are 4 types of sons. The wise son asks, how do I buy Bitcoin? You shall instruct him that the Cash App is the best way of stacking sats. The wicked son asks, isn't Bitcoin old tech? I can trade it for some cheap hot alts. By thus excluding himself from the network effects, he has denied the fundamentals. You therefore shall blunt his teeth and tell him, good luck with your trading. Don't get wrecked. The simple son asks, but who's in charge of Bitcoin? Isn't fiat more secure because the government backs it? Crime, electricity, money laundering. To him, you give a copy of the Bitcoin Money Book. As for the one who doesn't know how to ask, you must initiate him. Give him a hardware wallet with some Satoshis and download a wallet on his phone. How many degrees of blessings have been bestowed upon us? If only there was Bitcoin as sound money, that would have been enough for us, Dayenu. If there was sound money but no segregated witness, Dayenu. If there was segregated witness but no Lightning Network, Dayenu. If there was Lightning Network but no L2, Dayenu. If there was L2 but no sidechains, Dayenu. If there was sidechains but no Schnorr signatures, Dayenu. Thus, how much more so we should be grateful for the doubled and redoubled goodness that has been bestowed upon us. We have sound money, SegWit, Lightning, sidechains, and the rest are on their way. The Bitcoin Rabbi used to say, whoever does not do these 3 things has not fulfilled their obligation as a holder. Run a full node, verify your own transactions, and hold your own keys. All All right, that's the Bitcoin Haggadah.
That was amazing. Pound that like button. Anyone, I mean, everyone could get the basic gist of that, but if you're Jewish, I mean, that was amazing. Lishana haba, Lishana haba, Yerushalayim. I just want to say my word. All right, so let us. You got to go to the Tel Aviv Bitcoin Embassy. Have you?
You know, I haven't. I definitely will. My brother has been there a few times. But I lived in Israel from 2007 to 2011. I've only been back once since then. I went for a friend's wedding a few months ago, but I did not get a chance to go. So sometime, you know, God willing, I will make it there to the Bitcoin Embassy.
Yeah, you got, but you know Udi, or Udi. I think Udi.
I mean, I just chat with him on Twitter. We've never met before, but my brother knows some of the people in the you know, in the Bitcoin community just around Israel. He used to live in Jerusalem, and I went to yeshiva. I was in Kfar Chabad. Kfar Chabad is the word Kfar means village. So Kfar is a little village about 10 minutes away from Tel Aviv. So I used to go to Tel Aviv once a week, and I would put tefillin on people. Like I would go around and do for every holiday on Hanukkah, I would go and give out candles, like part of my yeshiva. That's what we would do, like, you know, do outreach stuff. But I would mostly be visiting my brother in Jerusalem. So that's where I spent a lot of time. He's since moved out. He lives in a different town, but he lived in Israel for 10 years. Hey, you got your tefillin there.
Yeah,
all
man.
Right. This is a new pair?
Yeah, it's a new. I got it in Los Angeles. It's a long story because they checked my old pair and there was an issue, so I got a new pair. Good, and you Chabad guys around the market in Tel Aviv on Fridays they're putting tefillin on everyone. And I was jogging, and the guy's like, "Hey, you want tefillin?" I'm like, "I put him on this morning." He's like, "Baruch Hashem." He's so happy. Yes. So yeah, I'm putting these on every morning. This is not your proof, but yeah, since awesome. Since everything happened with my dad and everything, I've been putting every morning, and so I'll continue to do. Hopefully, God willing, I'll continue to put these on even for more.
You know, we don't put them on during Passover, during the week of Passover.
Yes, yeah, I do know. I looked that one up too. That is something that secular people should know. If they do put on the tefillin, they don't put it on during. You don't put it on during Shabbat either, which everybody
holidays,
generally knows. But yeah, we got a little Jewish thing there now. Okay. But okay, so you've been to the Bitcoin Embassy. It is, or you haven't been there, excuse me.
Yeah.
But it's a very diverse place of they're not just Israelis there. People come in because Tel Aviv is
a very international city.
Yeah, very international city.
I know that like a lot of Bitcoiners have been through that. I know Jimmy Song did like a workshop there. I saw like within this past year, Adam Back was there for a conference. Oh, that's so cool. And Alina Vernova of Casa was there. Mm-hmm. So like I've definitely Nick Szabo was there. So like Bitcoiners definitely come into Tel Aviv.
Yeah, there's some interesting guy. I mean, it's mostly the guys hanging out there on a Sunday night are mostly secular, but there was there's a Yemeni Jew. He's got his seats on. You can see that and everything. And he's got I can't believe how many kids he had. He looks so young. And but then there were dudes talking Bitcoin and then religious and psychedelics. I don't know what this dude. There's also
sounds like my crowd. I could probably fit in there.
Yeah, you'd handle it. You'd handle it real well over there. No, but everyone would love you, and it's a very, very welcoming place. And shout outs to everybody that might be. Sarah, is she's watching. There's ladies. Well, there's a few ladies there, like 3, but you get the point. Anyway, so and let's talk about the ladies for a second here, because in the chat, Venshin sent $5, and I thank him for the support. And he says, planning for generations is all well and good until your faithful wife divorces you out of your family and runs off with a bandito biker gang. So, okay. So this is a problem with society today. You are a happily married man. And so a lot of guys who are watching this show is like, I'm not down with this guy. What's marriage? What's love? What's this guy even talking about? That's not the real world. So what is your take on what's going on with the world in terms of?
So I'll tell you how marriage works in Orthodox Jewish circles. It's not it's not like matchmaking, like you get told who you're going to marry, but the dating is like done through matchmakers, and like the way you don't just go out and meet a random lady and, you know, talking, because that's a terrible way to plan who is going to be your life partner and who's going to share your household and your children, the way, and your ideals and all that, to just go out and meet people. So what you do is you kind of make a resume for yourself. You talk about, you write down like what your goals are, what kind of person you're looking for, and usually you give that to like some older woman, and they give suggestions, and so you go out and meet people. So like my wife and I were matched up by a friend of her friend's mother, and who is a matchmaker, and I went out. And the thing is, you spend the whole time, for the first time we ever met, sat down, talked for 6 hours, and we talk about not, you know, meaningful things. Like to have a good relationship in a marriage, you need to like first of all, you need to know what you believe in, and you need to have a you know, meaningful perspective, and you need to you know, believe in something, or, you know why you're getting married, what kind of family you want, and then you need to talk that out and find somebody who is. So within the first day, within the first 6 hours of chatting, we knew she wasn't the first person I ever met or the first person I ever went out with, but we knew that we saw eye to eye. We knew that we wanted to have the same kind of house, raise the same kind of kids, live in the same kind of community, and do the same kind of things. And it's been, you know, I've been married for 8 years. I've got, thank God, 5 kids, and oh yeah, 5 kids. That's right. The oldest is 7 and the youngest is 4 months.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Well, again, you mentioned what you were dating for marriage. And so yeah, that is what I think that was your base right there. Right now in secular culture, that's not what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens. And then people, you know, they like each other enough, they're together for long enough, and then maybe they get married because they have romantic feelings for each other. And sometimes it works out, but it can, if you don't set and know what you want and then make sure the other person wants. Sometimes people meet each other and then one person wants kids, the other one doesn't. They don't know what religion they want to be, or what religion they want to raise their kids. It can be lots of difficult things, but if you come into it seriously at the beginning, that solves a lot of things. So the divorce rate in you know, Jewish circles, there are people that get divorced, and there's not like, you know, women can get divorced, men can get divorced. Like, it's, you know, we're not a restrictive, oppressive community if some people have that idea, but the rate is so much lower because people are coming into it with you know, marriage is really like a business partnership, and you have to decide, both parties have to decide that they want, it's more important for them that the marriage works out and that the family works out than their own personal happiness. You know, you can't be abused and you can't let yourself get depressed, but you have to have that mindset that it's, you know, it's more important for me to give in some, and that's just how kids work. You're never gonna, you know, you have to have kids. It's about giving up yourself for them and to make them successful, and that always takes sacrifice. And it's not just marriage; it's also being part of a community. You know, you want the community to do well, you know, and family and kids. It's about sacrifice. It's about, you know, giving up your immediate desires for the greater good, for the, you know, for the long term, and for the community and your small community, your family.
Yeah, so now a lot of people are gonna say, well, this sounds so old fashioned, but would you rather be with the new fashioned way? This guy, the orthodox ways, they don't play games. They lay it all out on the table, and that's what you need to do in life when you're making such a huge commitment. Lay it all out on the table right away, so there are no issues. And this is the way of the modern world. Is everyone's, they've got little secret desires on the side because they didn't lay it out on the table, and it comes out later and it wrecks everything. And you said it's like a business relationship, but I mean, that is one way of looking at it. I mean, I think a lot of guys see it, once they get divorced, they definitely see it as a totally failed a business relationship. So I mean, you lay it all out there right away. I think it's a great approach, and I do want to stress to everyone that you know, most Jewish people in the United States of America are not Orthodox. So they're just, what's happening to most Jewish people is what's happening to most of America. It's just this.
Yeah, but the numbers are rapidly changing because of things like this, because of the birth rates, and also there's a religious revival going on in the country, not just Jewish, but a lot of people are coming back to religion because they're trying to find meaning. I mean, it's so hard to find meaning in just the secular pop culture. And that's why people are getting depressed and stuff. So in Judaism, definitely there is, because there's this like revival going on. Then I'm part of that. You know, I'm a living example of that. So the numbers are gonna tick up in the next generation. The amount of Jews and probably of other religions I think there's going to be tick up. I think like the 90s was a secular, you know, Gen X was a down generation in religion, but I think it's coming back up.
Yeah, secular people don't have kids. Religious people have 5 kids, 8 kids, 10 kids. So that's we'll see how that ends up. Definitely. I mean, I know in Israel, definitely now. I mean, the only reason the Jewish population is growing is because of the Orthodox, because of the religious people having kids, and because they have a lot of darn kids, and they got that's their type of marriage. They got married to have kids, and it's successful. Hey, by the way, Guy Bennett sent $5 in the super chat. Do you know what the longest sentence in the English language is? I do. Yes. I mean, that's, again, when you don't plan accordingly, when you don't lay it all out on the table, it does become a sentence. Definitely. All right. Let's talk. Real quick. You were talking about that you were a libertarian. And again, a lot of people are like, oh, Rabbi, libertarian? What? Or Jewish people are libertarians?
I mean, I don't really mean it from a political sense. I just mean like philosophy, that people should be free to live the life the way that they want to live. And that usually whenever the Jewish people have been in a country where the government was overreaching, the Jews were usually the first and the most severe to suffer of that government overreach, whether it was, if it was in the communist Russia, or if it was in Nazi Germany, or if it was in, Spain and England and I'm talking about 100 years ago when Jews were kicked out. So the idea of it's always pretty much been a good idea to let people be free, let them, take care of themselves as long as they're not hurting other people. They can decide, because it's just, you end up with the overreach and, telling them what they can do, what they can't do. People kind of can take care of themselves. And in Judaism, I mean, I was explaining, there are different laws and different restrictions, and there are even different opinions. There's the Ashkenazi Jews, the European Jews, and the Sephardic, the Middle Eastern Jews, and all different Hasidic and Lithuanian, and all different kinds of things. But we don't have to fight with each other to force each other to do it. We just live and let live. And we, somebody can eat this one kind and somebody can eat a different thing, a different kind of kosher, and somebody can pray like that. And we all get along because we don't try and force it. We just allow the different things. So like philosophically, I think, Judaism is allows people to do and live different lifestyles, and just personally, my perspective is it's better. I'd rather live in a free country where the government doesn't try and tell me, what I have to go to, where I have to go to school, what I have to learn, what I have to teach my kids, what I have to eat, where let people do things themselves, as long as they're not hurting other people. I
like it. Pound that like button, people. Did you hear about the Zehut party in Israel at all?
So Israel's got a parliamentary system with like dozens of parties, and they just had an election. I don't really follow it all that much. It's so complicated, and it's not really not my expertise, the Israeli politics.
Yeah, the only reason I bring that one up is because the guy behind it was religious, and he had a libertarian philosophy. So I thought that might have you might have heard of that one. All right, so Jewish perspective on Bitcoin, justice and equality. What's that about?
So, I mean, there's a lot of the modern concepts of law and of the judicial system comes originally from Jewish legal text, the Talmud, and from the Torah, the Bible. There's one of the underlying principles is from a verse in Deuteronomy that's called it says, Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, which means justice, justice you shall pursue. It's very unusual that the Torah will repeat itself, give an extra word there, and it's for extreme emphasis. And what that means is, you have to have a system that's fair, a system that doesn't, the whole verse says, you shall not pervert justice, you shall not show favoritism, you shall not take a bribe, for bribery blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts just words. Justice, justice shall you pursue. And this is I think that we need to have a money system that's fair. That's, a banking system that's, I think Bitcoin gives us an even level playing field. I think that it gives everybody a shot, and nobody's got an advantage. Some people aren't in control of the money supply. They're not printing more. They're not limiting, who can have it and what. So I see it as just essentially a fair type of money, and that's I really like it for that aspect. That I think is that's one thing that I think my perspective of Judaism definitely values. All people are equal. They should have an equal shot, and that's what I think Bitcoin gives.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I like it. Jewish perspective on Bitcoin there, guys. Hey, you mentioned the Talmud. I know what the Talmud is. There are a lot of freaks out there on the internet. You've probably seen those videos. Why don't you tell everyone what the Talmud is?
So the Talmud is a collection of books. Basically, the Torah is the 5 books of Moses, or the Bible, and there's books of prophets and all that. That's the what's called the written book of the Jewish Bible. That is written. It's like the story of the Jewish people and the history of the kings, but it's not written in a in-depth legal hand guide. It has the mitzvahs, the commandments in the Torah, but they're not elucidated. They're not described. So from that, and the Torah was given the Mount Sinai and Moses and all of that. That had to happen about 3,300 years ago, give or take. About 2,000 years ago, when the Jews were living in Israel and all that. So they would discuss all of that. There was the Supreme Court of the Jewish, there was the yeshivas, there was the leaders, and they would discuss all of the laws. So the Talmud is the collection of the discussions and the legal analysis of the Jewish law over the course of 1,000 years, basically from 1,000 years BCE till just around maybe a couple hundred years of the AD or of the CE, the Common Era. So it's a book. It's 39 volumes or more than that. It's pretty massive. Some people study it every day. If you study one page, a double-sided page every single day, it will take you 7.5 years to finish. That's called the Daf Yomi. Some people study and they go through it and they learn it, and it's like the source of Jewish law, but it's like discussions from rabbis over thousands of years discussing all of the laws, and that's what we study, and that's where we get how do we keep kosher, how do we write tefillin, how do we pray? It all comes from there.
And there are some disputes in there that you can see the rabbis arguing back and forth.
They were arguing back and forth, and some things they didn't conclude to. Some things different Jewish communities do one way and another way, and there's a lot of variance. That's what I call them. They're the soft forks of Judaism. They're the compatible soft forks, backwards compatible soft forks.
Now you know what I said. The hard fork of Judaism is Christianity. Clearly, they forked off. They made their own coin. They did their own thing. But very interesting.
And that's totally fine. I've got no problem with the Christians believing what they believe, and I mostly I actually usually get along better with Christians than with non-religious or anti-religious people, because Christians and we lots of people or religious people, they have generally family values and moral values, and are positive people. So I've had pretty good relationships and pretty good experience with religious people of different types.
Yes. I'm glad you put it out there with the Talmud people. It's and again, it's a massive. I mean, with your hands. I mean, it's like this. it's huge. It's tremendous. And so, I mean, there's all sorts of freaks out there. They're like, haven't you read your Talmud? I'm like, dude, all the secular Jews out there, none of them have read any of it. Okay. It's like they, and have you, and these people who take like one little quote from it. I mean, they haven't read it. They mangle one quote about one thing or something like that.
Yeah, sure. There are plenty of things that could be taken out of context there. So I mean, I know there are whole websites dedicated to exposing it and then to unexposing in this. I don't spend my time on that.
There you go. Yeah, you can't waste your time. You got to be in motion. I was just pointing that out to everyone out there. He gave a very nice explanation. It's just like with the fake Toshi thing. You can't worry about let him say what he's gonna say. And
I just talk about the positive things going on. I mean, there are plenty of negative things, but there's so many positive things going on in Bitcoin. So I enjoy watching, seeing the trolling and the fun arguments back and forth. But I try and keep above the fray. Like I just want to focus on the positive, good things going on in Bitcoin and just in general. That's the way I do.
Okay, so now going back to Passover, which I'm always excited about, which starts on Friday and Friday night, and Fast of the Firstborn is that morning. You got to go to the little party or whatever.
That's probably not too hard for you, right?
No, I know that's easy as anything. Yeah. But okay, so now what are the lessons about freedom and Bitcoin from the Passover Exodus?
So it kind of fit, it kind of fits in with what I was saying before, that that freedom is a good. People act better when they are free and they can produce more and are happier in this. So Passover is the story of the Jewish people, that they were enslaved in Egypt, and then God did miracles and took the Jewish people out. But most people, if they know anything about this, they know the famous quote of Passover is that Moses goes up to Pharaoh and he says, "Let my people go." Yeah. The problem about that is that it's a mistranslation or a misquote. That's not it's a cut off sentence. The verse in the Torah actually says, it's Shalach Ami Vayavaduni, send out my people so that they can serve me. So the idea is that, it's good to be free. It's good not to be slaved, and that's a positive thing. But the whole point, never in the Torah does it just say the Jewish people should just be free, for no reason. It was always that they had to, when you're with your freedom, you have to be going towards something. You can't just be, again, I don't want to be enslaved, which obviously you should not be enslaved and people should be free. But when you have that freedom, you have to then have a goal, and you have to have something like service. You have to be working towards something. So the same, like with Bitcoin, people have their Bitcoin and holding their Bitcoin and are in the community, but it can't just be just about having money or just being financially free or having, financial wealth. You have to have a goal and a meaningful thing that you're moving towards. That is, I think, a lesson that again, it's a universal idea of being free, but being free to go in and do something positive.
Very good points. All right. We're coming toward the end now. What are some conclusionary thoughts, things that I didn't ask, things you wanted to bring up? It's been great, man. It's flowed real nice. We've been talking for a while.
Yeah. I really, I like your show. I like that you go through the story. I like that you've got this positive attitude. And listen, I'll just, since the Beyond Bitcoin show, I did you talk about fasting sometime, which I like. I actually, from the beginning of the year, I did some intermittent fasting for like a few weeks, and it worked really well and like really felt great. Like I've got to get back into it. It's hard, with the Purim was last month and getting ready, and it's I've got to feed my family and feed my kids, but I really did like it, and it was I hear you talk about it. I hear other people talk about it, so it's a cool. It's a cool thing that you've got going on.
What do you think about these carnivore Bitcoin guys?
That's what I was doing. I was doing intermittent fasting, and then I've always been like a keto for like I've on and off keto for like 10 years. So like I get the eating meat and meat and vegetables mostly. So I tried it. I don't know, for some people that have health issues or have digestive issues, they maybe say they like it. It makes them feel better. That I didn't really get. Like, not eating a salad and not eating vegetables didn't make me feel better or anything. But I mean, if it works for some people, that's what they that's what they like. Listen, I'm not the skinniest or the healthiest guy, so I'm not giving dietary advice to anybody. People do it, but definitely eating more. People that are like think that eating a pasta and sugar and eating is good, and eating meat is where, it can't have a steak. That's where a steak has got a saturated fat. That's the unhealthy thing. That people definitely have got the wrong perspective there.
I gotta tell you, with the challah, man, the challah, the Jewish people, I used to love the challah, but I mean, I have the discipline where I just cut it out of my life. I haven't had it for years. And so it's a practice in discipline, the whole fasting.
I'm going to wish Michael Goldstein, who is a carnivore. Well, I went to a Bitcoin meetup, and I was like, figured I would go there and it would just be like all guys eating steak. Everyone's drinking beer. I was like, you guys aren't carnivores. What is this? I was just joking. It's fine. It's no problem. But Michael Goldstein is apparently I was like, I thought everyone's hardcore Bitcoin, hardcore carnivore, and they were like, no, it's really just Michael. He's the main guy.
Yeah.
So I have to wish him every Passover. He says that he eats matzah is like his one carbohydrate that he eats per year, and it's enough to make him feel the suffering of servitude to bite down the matzah.
That's the same thing with me. The first and the second night of Passover, the only times I have bread, it's matzah during the year. That's it. There's just 2 nights, and just a little bit. It's the minimum requirement or whatever it is, and then the rest of the year, no bread at all, nothing like that. Well, I'm glad you're experimenting with the eating techniques and everything. This is good that people are learning for the Beyond Bitcoin show. Well, you provided some great info again, everyone. The book, he's linked to below. You can follow him on Twitter. You can buy the book. It's linked to below. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a long time coming, and I really, really appreciate it. It's been great to watch it. It's great to to see your content and to be part of it now. Keep up the great work. You really are, a positive voice in the Bitcoin world.
Well, you're keeping it positive too. In this age of negativity and dirtiness, you're keeping it family oriented, and I really like that. And hey, there was no cursing on the show.
Hey, we made it. we just barely made it. It's funny. I said when I go, he's like, I feel like I don't have to ask you to not curse before we go on the show. And I was like, same to you when I say the same thing when I go on podcasts. It's good to meet someone.
This is going to be a guaranteed clean show. I'll tell you, everyone. All right, dudes. Awesome time. Remember, new show every single day. And Passover's on Friday. We'll be talking about that more as it gets closer. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video, pound that like button, bang that bell button, click on those squares. Bye-bye. Have a great Passover, everyone, when it's coming, but I'll see you before then. See ya.